Another episode of our Flannel Farms family forum. I hope you can hear okay. We always are checking our issues with the sound checks and such. So if you can't hear it for some reason, please let me know. Boop. We have a. Ooh. Yes, thank you. Have a lot to cover tonight. Sorry, just making sure my chat is set up appropriately. Oh, stop it! Quiet! So loud! All right, so first, some sad news. Do you remember the little chicks? Well, hello! Integrity and Intention with Faith. Hello, Carolyn. I'm guessing you guys can hear okay. It hasn't popped up on my screen yet, so we'll have to see. I trust that it's well. Yes, it's working. Perfect. Okay. A little muffled sounding, but that's okay. We'll be okay. So Ultra Mom, our chicken that has been running around with her little brood of hens, has not been seen in a few days. Hello, Steele. Welcome from South Central Texas. I think she may have been eaten. So the little babies are gone. Mom is gone, which is kind of a bummer. We've gotten used to seeing her run around the homestead, and she was one of our favorite things to see running around. And she is no more. Even when we couldn't find her, we could always find the babies, and they're not around. Our turkey also has vanished. They all vanished in the same day. So we had one turkey left, and the turkey is gone. It's very, very frustrating. We ordered 6 turkeys. They were $13 or $12 a piece. The total in my head sticks out to like $86, and they're gone too. All of them died, and then the one disappeared. So I'm assuming it was eaten as well. So our turkey experiment did not fare well for us. All the turkeys are gone. Pigs are doing great. If you guys see in the videos, they are chasing us around, having a great time. It's wonderful to see them. They're so much fun. Sometimes I stop on the way home from work in the driveway and just get out and let them romp around on my feet and pet them. It's been a very busy week. And I kind of want to get you guys up to speed, but I also would like to talk later about the Dobbs decision with the Supreme Court, and just my perspective, my point of view, and take it or leave it. I don't really care, but I'm going to talk about it because I think it's important, and it doesn't really matter which side you fall on. It's very important. So we're going to do that. Hey, Rip, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you, Carolyn. She says, sorry to hear you lost so many animals. Mostly, yeah, I mean, the Ultra Mom and her 2 chicks was really sad. The turkeys just, I don't know that I'm going to try turkeys again. Next time we might get a heritage breed, but they're just, I don't know. I think they're more hassle than they're worth. And I have so many things going on with the chickens and pigs already. Anyways, let me get you up to speed on our week. I was released back to full duty. So the past shift day and a half, I was able to function in my capacity as a actual firefighter. Hey, look, there's a kid in the background. I think they just realized they were in the background. They saw you, individual person. Oh, you're planting. What are you planting? Flowers. Our property manager, we have that one rental property, gave us some flowers and plants that they were digging up. So I think they're off to plant surprise lilies. What all was it? Surprise lilies, bananas, mountain mint. Iris. Banana. Yeah, something like that. Cool. Um, so yeah, we're putting up more plants. It's always fun when people give you plants. So we yeah, thank you. Consider the art. It is a bummer to lose animals. They were free range though, the chickens were, so I mean that's just kind of the risk you run. The turkeys, man, turkeys just a bummer. Like I said, I think we might try heritage breeds next year, but it was just unfortunate. I had high hopes, and that last turkey was stupid friendly, and it would follow us around the property. We were leaving it in the garden, and she was eating potato beetles and stuff, and yeah, So, oh, before I forget, we are drinking a jam and lemon ginger tea. For you guys who are newer to our channel, we always have tea on live streams. It's kind of a necessity. Still pretty hot. This might be a 2T conversation. I'm not sure yet. But I used to, many years ago, be an alcoholic, so I switched over to drinking copious amounts of tea instead of grown-up beverages. So that's why we have teas. Yeah, Karen says got her tea as well. That's awesome. So I'm back to full duty. They are allowing me to do my regular job, and that's good. That happened about halfway through the week. It was a pretty busy cycle. There were lots of calls, some fatalities with car accidents and things, some fires. One of our fire trucks actually had a car merge into it. Everybody's okay, not much damage. Just a little bumper scratch, but I'm responsible for that type of paperwork. So it was a busy week, but it was good to be back in the saddle, as it were, doing what we need to. If you saw the regenerative land video, we actually did get the other acre of our yard, the front field, completely fenced in. So it's got T-posts, it's electrified, and the cows are over there chomping down on that good green. So we saved ourselves a bit of a feed bill. So that's good. So our first area that we put the cows is starting to come back. It's green. We hope to give it another couple weeks. And then Steele says, been sober 16 years, best decision I ever made. Good for you, my friend. It can be done. It can be done. I think I'm on year 7. I think it's 7. So this COVID thing's got me jacked up, man, because it feels like 4 or 5 years, but then there's that whole 2-year block of COVID that kind of messed up my whole timekeeping process, and it's just, yeah. So we're, but yes, I believe it's 7 years. But the cows are doing great. They're doing good out there. I go in for my bilateral heart catheterization, not this next week, but the week after that. The audio's muffled. Maybe it's the bed. Maybe I'll just do this. Is that better? This is a different headset, so let me know if you can hear me. Okay, we'll just dump the headset. I need to get a better headset with a better mic, to be perfectly honest. I don't like how echoey it sounds without some sort of microphone, and I still can't get my Shure Mauve 88 to work. I've been working with them. And also, Jeremy, good to see you, bud. Good, that's fine. All right, cool. I've been working actually with the company, and probably in the next couple of days, you'll see a live stream pop up that won't be a live stream. It's just an audio test. So we get static when we use that mic, and they said they thought they could help me do it, help me get it fixed, but they want a copy of that audio. So I have to make a live stream with that audio. So, oh, good. I'm glad. Sorry for the previous thing. So yeah, coming up next week, Christopher Brace wants to know what's wrong with my heart. So it was discovered during our physical that I have a bad valve. So I won't get into a whole bunch of details, but they caught it early. There's not a whole bunch of damage, but the valve needs to be either repaired or replaced. So coming up next week, we are going to have a bilateral heart catheterization. They're going to go in through the artery in the wrist and then the femoral vein in my leg, and they're going to take pressure readings of both sides. That's going to get sent over to the cardiac surgeon, and then we're going to decide if they can add a clip to help my heart close properly or if the whole valve actually needs to be replaced. So I should have more details for you guys coming up in about 2 weeks as to what our plan going forward is. So we're trying to get a bunch of stuff around here wrapped up, so that if I do end up undergoing the knife, that I have enough things here done that my wife can kind of handle it. Several of my family members have offered to come up and stay. My department has been very supportive. There are lots of people who have been willing to help. So that's my current cardiac situation. That's why I was placed on light duty, because they discovered it and they were very concerned. My ejection fraction is 54% at rest. Normal is between 52 and 72. So I'm still technically within the normal limits, but it explains why I felt more tired lately and just haven't had the stamina that I have
had in the past. I thought it was because I turned 40 next month, so I was just kind of winding down, but as it turns out, I actually have heart disease, which was kind of a bummer. So, all the stuff you've been seeing me doing with the stump grinding business, my regular job, the YouTube channel, and a farm trying to build food has been at like 70 or 80% of my normal, and I didn't even know it. So the prayer is that we will be able to be back up and running at full speed once we get this repair done. So there's a lot of stuff up in the air. We would appreciate your prayers for myself and my family. It's a very interesting thing. I have no other pre-existing conditions. All of my labs were good. I am not overweight or have hypertension or diabetes or family history or any of the other things that can be a cause for it. So Jeremy says, so what you're saying is that 100% you're basically Superman. I have used the old joke with my kids that they haven't seen me and Batman in the same room at the same time, so I don't claim Superman, just Batman. Uh, that's just a joke. I thought I was just getting older, but turns out I actually have a medical condition. So I wanted to talk briefly, maybe not briefly, I'm not sure, it depends on how this goes, about the Dobbs decision that came down yesterday that essentially overturned Roe versus Wade. Some of the response to it, some of the pushback, some people's responses. What I'd like to break it down to is essentially we're going to talk about secular government and the fact that we are a constitutional republic and the way our government is supposed to function, but we're also going to hit it abortion from the basic fundamentals. Okay, so the whole abortion argument breaks down into two camps. You either believe it is life or you do not believe it is life. Now, if you believe it is life camp does have some divergent, okay? So let's start even further back. You either believe it's life at conception or you don't believe it's life at conception. If you do believe it's life at conception, then anything that interferes with that baby and their development is murder. So if it is murder, it should be outlawed in every single sense of the word. If you do not believe it is a baby and you do not believe life begins at conception, then it really is not murder, and there has been an egregious um, infringement upon those people's rights. So they think. There are some people that do believe it's life, but they don't believe it's life at conception. They believe it's life at a heartbeat. They believe it's life at the brainwaves. They believe it's life when it can survive outside the womb. I'm not going to get into all of those types of things. We're just going to nail it right down to you either believe it's life at conception or you do not. If you do believe it is life at conception and it is actual life, then it has all of the rights. That baby has all of the rights of any other living human being. So that negates or at least puts on par the mother's rights and the woman's right to choose. I have to get some bug spray. It wouldn't be a live stream for me if I didn't leave. I'm back. I didn't realize sitting out here that the mosquitoes were going to eat me up. The mosquitoes love my blood. Yay. All right. So, Integrity says they were worried I was going to stay in place the whole stream. You can't nail me down. I found one. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. My son was coming out with one to give it to me. I should have yelled for you. Help, my assistant. Yeah. He could be my producer. Someday, maybe. Someday, the kids. So, I believe that life begins at conception. So, we do anything and everything we can to protect that life. And you don't get, hey, Evie, welcome. You don't get to murder people for convenience. So when they talk about, hey, Boyd, welcome. When people talk about the financial implications, people being in poverty, all those types of things, those are not real arguments when you're talking about life. Okay, we don't get to. If I could kill 400 people and take all of their possessions, all of my financial troubles would be fixed, right? So that's not allowed. Well, why not? You're keeping me down. I mean, that's not. It doesn't work. Okay. So the right to choose is over when life is involved. Now, I have heard a lot of people who are not I haven't talked to them individually. I'm just reading the news, which is probably a terrible idea. Um, Going on about how the Supreme Court did this egregious overreach and legislating from the bench and things like that, which is something conservatives have been screaming about for decades. They have, I mean, their judges don't make laws. So it does come down to how you interpret the Constitution. If it's a living document versus originalist, and the people who seem to fall into the living document can find anything and everything that they want to find in it. I would like to give you an example that has nothing to do with abortion to show you what happens when government overreaches. So, back in 1930 something, I don't remember, FDR was president. And they had just started, right? The Great Dust Bowl happened, the Great Depression happened. There were terrible farming practices going on in places that farming practices should not have been done, okay? So that's in large part what caused the Great Dust Bowl, as they plowed up all the prairie grasses, which had roots that were over 100 feet deep that could reach the aquifers. So the fact that it had somewhere between 10 and 19 inches of rain didn't kill the grass, and the buffalo could live out there. The buffalo were hardier than our cows, and in the 20s, they started plowing up all that stuff. Wheat prices went astronomical because of World War I. And so the government got involved and started to buy up crops, killing cattle, like all this stuff. The Dust Bowl happened. People were dying from the dust floating around places. The topsoil from the prairies got stripped. Before they called it the Great Plains, do you know it was known as the Great American Desert, even though it had grass? So the government got involved, told people who they could, what they could plant, when they could plant it, how much they could plant. All in the effort, right, to fix this Great Depression problem and things. Best of intentions. There was a case that was brought before the Supreme Court. And I know I'm getting into the weeds a little bit, but stick with me. There was a case brought before the Supreme Court, farmer versus whoever, I don't remember who. But the government was telling people how much wheat they could grow. And this guy grew more wheat than he was allowed to grow. And he sued them. And he said, look, I'm not selling the extra wheat. This extra wheat is for me and my family, right? To feed me and my family. And the federal government fined him. And when he sued, the Supreme Court said, no, you're not allowed to do that. Because if you had not made that wheat for your family, you would have had to have bought it. You'd have to buy it on the open market. You'd have to buy feed on the open market. So you are actually interfering with the Interstate Commerce Clause. Okay? They sued a guy for growing too much food. So let's talk about egregious oversight. Okay? It's been going on for decades. Almost 100 years this has been going on. And the entire purpose of the Constitution was to limit the power of the federal government, and we threw that out a very, very, very long time ago. And I mean, we don't even own private property anymore. This is stuff you guys know. I'm just building the case. Because if you don't pay for it, you basically rent it from the government because they'll tax you. And then if you don't pay it, they come and take it. So when Roe v. Wade came out, it is not expressly in the Constitution. Neither are a boatload of other things. There is a way to get it in the Constitution, right? There are constitutional amendments. There are ways that it happens. There are ways to adjust the Constitution to make it say things, right? We've done it before. There was the prohibition. It came. We went, bad idea. It went. The right for voting, all right? Eliminating slavery. There have been all kinds of amendments that have happened. There's a way that we do amendments, and it's not with federal judges just deciding that stuff is in there because it was written a long time ago. They didn't have abortion, so we've decided that's part of the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, their taxation is kind of pissing me off, and that interferes with my liberty and my right to happiness. So how come that's allowed? It also is completely different from the gun issue. Okay, so I've seen they're trying to make correlation between them striking down New York's law, which says that you don't have to prove that you have a need to defend yourself. You just have the right because it is in the Constitution. The Constitution says you have the right to bear arms. The Constitution has literally nothing written in about uh, abortion. You know something else it doesn't have anything to do with? Marriage. Either way, it's none of the federal government's business. What people on the left and who are pro abortion don't seem to understand is that this is good for them as well. And I'll tell you why it is good for them as well. Because, yeah, Mindy says so much of the information the government puts out is twisted. This is not a new thing. They've been doing it from before the beginning. You're right, because they want to stay in power. That's what it all boils down to, is they want to stay in power. So, states, whatever rights were not expressly given to the federal government, okay, which we have way, way, way exceeded. But whatever those rights were, they were left to the states and to the people to decide, okay? Why this is a good thing is because you don't have a federal government ordering everybody about and dictating every part of their lives. If California wants to make lawnmowers illegal that run on gas, California can do that. But the federal government has no business being involved in that. It's none of the federal government's business, okay? So abortion is none of the federal government's business. It belongs to the states and the people in the states. Now, I believe it is murder, and I think we should eliminate it at every form, every fashion, in every state. But that's my opinion for the states. I've heard people say that, well, men shouldn't talk about this issue because it's none of their business. Well, I'm also not Jewish, but I'm pretty sure the Holocaust was bad. Okay? I am clearly not African American, but slavery's not a good thing. The fact that you're not a woman, so you don't have an opinion on what is conceivably murder, is ridiculous. I think it's both of them. Yeah, it's my wife and my daughter. They're out there planting. So those plants that our property manager gave us, they're planting around. That's our little garden. Not our garden, our little pond back there. So they're busy planting those things so they don't die. So I guess I'll leave it that way. You can watch them instead of me. So it is a good thing because then you don't live under some bloated, massive federalist system with the federal government telling everybody how to live their lives. You can go live in California and enjoy that, if you like. Or, yes, Mindy, exactly. Mindy said marriage should not be the business of the government either. That is between a man, a woman, and God. It has nothing to do with the government. Exactly. And it's not in the Constitution. So if we were to, which I cannot eliminate my Christian worldview, so I see everything as best I can through a biblical lens. But in a strictly secular point of view, the small federal government allows for the most people to enjoy the most freedoms, okay? If you live in, what do they call them, snapback states, wherever, where as soon as Roe v. Wade was overturned, abortion became illegal, and you don't want to live there, you can vote with your feet without leaving the country. That was the point, okay? You can go to California, you can go to New York, you can go to wherever those states are. Jeremy said I left California because I didn't enjoy that, and for a woman. That's a great reason to leave, is for a day. But you have that right to move. And if you don't want to live in a liberal wacko state and you want to be where you can carry, a 50 caliber machine gun in your truck and, whatever. And, yeah, Mindy says, I'm in Mississippi, Missouri, and we were the first. I'm so happy that happened. God bless you and your state. You can. You can vote with your feet. And people go, well, it's hard to move. It's expensive. Yeah, but it beats the alternative of never being able to leave some massive federal government that is forcing it either way down your throat. So, that is what I have for you on that subject. It is ground shaking. It is it is a step in the right direction in many, many ways. It's a step in the right direction for people who love freedom. It didn't outlaw abortion, so that's all trash that is coming out of the media. It allowed states to make laws like they should be able to. And guess what? If you don't like it, you can vote for your state. Hey, Belt Loop, welcome. He says, just got here. Well, you missed everything. Now it's over. It's not over. Um, oh, roll. There we go. A little bit. Boop. You got to get. I don't know if Cowboy 86 or whatever is here, but they always are teasing me about my hair, so I want to make sure my hair is properly in in frame for you. So, anyways, it has been amazing for freedom-loving people who understand the fact that we are a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy, and that it's much easier to control the government at the local level than it is these big old monster things. So, oh, Karen's back, but she has to run. Need to get dinner started. Have a good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here, Karen. Yeah, Belt Loop says you got to get the flip right. At some point, um, yeah, Faith says all the protests in liberal states that will keep abortion are insane. Why? It's all about controlling people. It is about controlling people. Um, yeah, Jeremy says perplexing that the violence and the protests are happening primarily in states that will never ban abortion. It's incredible. I've seen all kinds of things now in the news. Um, oh wow, Mindy, I'm so sorry for your loss. Mindy says I was pro-choice until I lost my son at 6 months and the perfectly formed baby came out. That's the thing. That's the thing. This is why the government keeps us ignorant. And abortion was founded on racist principles. I mean, it was designed to eliminate the undesirables. I'm not kidding. Look, do some deep research. Look at where the majority of abortion clinics are. They're in minority neighborhoods. They're in socioeconomically depressed neighborhoods. So they are killing, murdering the people they don't like. It's unbelievable. So yeah, it was a victory for gun control, or a lack thereof, also. But again, the difference between gun control and abortion: gun control is expressly written into the Constitution. Abortion is not. So, thank God we are moving in the right direction. I pray that He forgives us for all the murder that we have committed, and that it is not too late for I mean, there's judgment. It's upon us in so many ways. I mean, look at our leadership. But one of the reasons that the Israelites were told to wipe out all the people in the land of Canaan and the Promised Land was because they were sacrificing their children. It is evil. Yes, Belt Loop. Margaret Sanger was an advocate for eugenics, and Hitler got some of his ideas from her. Yeah, look up George Bernard Shaw. Gosh, it's terrible. So, the Nazis just didn't do it with abortion. They did it. Didn't matter how old you were. It's horrible. So, but thankfully, one step forward has been made toward preserving life and the sanctity of life. So, but there's a lot of work left to do. So while we rejoice and we give thanks, we know there's a lot of work left to do. So, if you are in one of those states where it's been outlawed, God bless you. Pray for those of us that are in states where it hasn't been, and as we pick up the fight to keep going forward. Give you a little bit about what happened today. It was a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. The last family who had chickens on our property that needed a butcher, they came over. They had their kids with them, and they processed primarily on their own their 9 chickens. We had 2 that escaped, well, 3 that escaped. 1 I was able to catch, and 2 that are just out in the woods. They've decided they are going to beat feet and not stay. So I have to find them, but I can take down their chicken netting now. So, a non-Planned Parenthood abortion clinic. Good grief. That's awful. They but they were here. It took them, I don't know, a couple hours, and so they've done it without us, like at other places with people that knew what they were doing. They've done it with us, and this time it was kind of they were just wanted to see, they wanted to do the whole process themselves, kind of start to finish. So they did. They processed all their own chickens, and then they stayed for lunch. And while they were here, we had another family that came out that I haven't seen since before COVID, and they're actually moving away. They have five, 6 kids. Homeschool them, lovely family. They had a wonderful time. They came out and drove tractors and went swimming and pet pigs and all kinds of things like that. And it was just a good time of fellowship. They're good Christian families raising their kids right in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And it was just wonderful to sit around a kitchen table and have conversation with people that are sane. So it was a good break from the world. I am on my 4-day break now. I have a video coming out tomorrow about the importance of chickens and why everybody should have them, even if you live in suburbia. There's a section of grass. I'll give you a little behind the scenes stuff. So we had those 2 big 8x8 chicken tractors that we kind of moved down one of the fields. And the grass is huge in those areas, and the chickens haven't been there for 4 or 5 months. But I mean, I'm telling you, the grass is 8-10 inches tall, and the grass next to it's like 2 inches tall. It was so unbelievable that I made a video about it, because it was so. Integrity says sane. Then why were they with y'all? Everybody has a ministry. They were ministering to us crazies. We're not sane. Yeah, Integrity says liberalism is using minorities they want to eliminate to use eugenics on themselves. It's so horrible. It's evil. So Boyd says I need to get dinner with the fam. Love y'all. Be good. See you, buddy. Yeah, Integrity says Integrity said, let me back up, that I'm in Southern Illinois. Everyone here is proud they just opened a non-Planned Parenthood abortion clinic. And she said she cried when she found out about the road. The road decision was so much even more amazing for us. Yeah, my dad was on the starting board of directors for a pregnancy crisis center down in South Florida, and my mom does ultrasounds at a pregnancy center now, where they work very hard to help young mothers see what they're doing, and have the opportunity to know what's growing inside them. It's unbelievable how backwards our world has become, and how quickly. Carolyn says, I'm sitting here eating my dinner, chicken and cabbage salad. Sounds delicious. We had spaghetti tonight with pork from our own homestead, which is wonderful. So tomorrow we have church, and then I have a young couple coming over. So I think I've told most of you, I don't talk about it a lot, but I am an ordained minister at large, if you will. I don't have a congregation per se. I am known as a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I don't have a flock, although I do consider part of this channel to be a ministry, and I consider it part of my responsibility in that role to help encourage and minister to you people as well. But there's a gentleman from the fire department who is getting married, and he was my rookie 3 or 4 years ago, and he has popped the question, and they've asked me to perform the ceremony in August. So if you would pray that my surgery doesn't interfere with that. I don't know when my surgery is going to be. I don't think it'll be that early. Carolyn says, watch YouTube while eating dinner with your family. It's educational. They're coming over tomorrow night for dinner, and we have a little pre-marriage chat, as it were. And then we're going to go over the ceremony with them and what's going to happen. So it's always exciting. It's a huge honor to get to do somebody's wedding, especially somebody you work with and stuff. When it's somebody you know, family. It's very personal. So that's cool. I am working on a video and a project using air handler blowers. So you know how air conditioners, they have the fan outside, and then they have that big square box that's normally in your closet somewhere or in the attic, and that has the big fan that kicks on. I'm converting one into like a shop fan. So I'm trying to figure out ways to do things that are cheaper so that we can survive inflation together. So when I got here, the guy that lived here before had made one, so I'm kind of taking his apart to see what he did. It's not super complicated, but it has a high-low switch that I'm trying to figure out how he wired. But I'm going to post that up later because I got the blower motor for free. So if you call local air conditioning companies, and because when they take an old one out, they don't typically reuse it, it gets recycled or taken apart or whatever. So it's quite possible if you call your local air conditioner company and say, "Hey, I'd like the fan out of the air handler. You know, I'll give you $10 for it or something." It's significantly cheaper than buying like one of those big shop fans from Tractor Supply or something like that. Jeremy, I'm not familiar with a swamp cooler. Is that one of the ones like where they do it over a fan over like ice cubes and stuff like that? Um, anyways, so I currently wired it up and it's only working on the low speed. It's not working on the high speed, but it's super cheap to do, and it moves an incredible amount of cubic feet per minute of air. So when you think those fans are designed to push air through the entire house, right? So what, 13, 15 vents? I mean, that's a massive amount of air that those things push. So if you can get one for $10 or whatever, put a piece of um, put one on the back of, put a piece of plywood on the back, mount it so you can, and then you put a plug and a switch on it, man. I'm gonna be in fat, hog heaven, as it were. So, uh, Integrity says I'm from South Louisiana, and the idea of adding more humidity makes me cry. I don't really need the ice in the barn. I just need airflow. So, and also the horseflies have been egregious this year. So I want to rig up one that I can move out to the pool area so I can just have it blow across the pool. But yeah, man, they are super efficient, and they're really cool. So Monday I'm working on that. So I'm trying to get that filmed so I can get that out to you. And then I don't know what's going on Tuesday. I don't have anything specific planned. There's always something to do. I got to get this propane thing working. My propane generator is still not working correctly with the propane tanks, and I have all these tanks of propane, so my whole backup system for the house still isn't working right. So I'm trying to get that sorted out. There's a lot to do. A lot to do. So, Taco Tuesday. Woo! So yeah. And then I go back to work for a day, and then next weekend I will be recovering from my bilateral heart catheterization. Apparently, the recovery on that is like 3 or 4 days because they don't want you to move around because you could pop open the artery. They send the cath down. I didn't realize that. I thought it was like getting an IV or something. I'm not terribly familiar with all these cardiac things. So it looks like I might end up getting the 4th of July weekend off because I'll be recovering. So who knows? I will have some fireworks on the 4th of July, though, that I will do my best to film for you and throw up on the screen. I know it's not the same as being there, but it's going to be good. So don't do what? Um, Integrity says maybe I need to start filming so you actually have something to watch while you're down. I'm really bad at watching YouTube. Thank you, Mindy. Mindy says, please be careful. It is a big deal. So, Mindy, I'll tell you how I knew it was a big deal. I mean, obviously, they're putting a catheter into your heart, so that's kind of a big deal. But I do IVs for people fairly frequently, and there's a cath in their arm when we do it. And I thought, that's not that big a deal. And you just, they're going to put a cath in there, and then they'll put the tube in. They're not going to damage the veins while they're going through it. It's just a little opening, and whenever they draw blood, they use an 18 gauge, and they put a little Band-Aid on it, and I quit bleeding pretty quick. They said that I had to have a driver. And I said, well, why do I have to have a driver? And they said, well, because you're going to be on fentanyl and I think he said Valium for the procedure. I said, good grief, why am I going to be on those things? And they're like, well, it tends to make people a little nervous. And we need you to kind of hold still. And Integrity says, film that. I would. I don't care. I really would. I don't know that the doctors would particularly care for it. But I did tell my wife she needs to bring the camera and film my recovery because if we're going home and I'm all loop-de-doo, that might be hilarious. I'm game for it. So, but I think she'll have a hard time like driving and filming. Maybe I'll get one of my kids to film me. I'll sit in the back seat and be like, why do unicorns have blue hair or something. I don't know. But so yeah, it looks like I'll get a uh my husband was on Dilaudid, the most hilarious thing I've seen in my life. But back to YouTube. I am really bad. I am really bad at watching YouTube, which might sound ridiculous because I'm putting videos out myself, but I have a hard time sitting still long enough to watch really anything. Um, so if you are a content creator who does watch my stuff, I do really appreciate it. But as a content creator, I have a hard time doing time on YouTube. I've also been incredibly busy. I hope the videos show some of that. So not that everybody isn't busy. I don't mean to compare myself to anybody else. Just and actually also, to be honest, your husband came home with a pressure bandage and it was scary. Yeah, I hear that's what. Anyways, we'll see what happens. I notice I have been more tired lately, and I think I said this before, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. I also forget things because the blood flow ain't so good anymore. But I realized about last year that I was becoming more tired, and I thought it was because I was getting older and I was doing more. But I wasn't working out as much as I used to. I used to hit the gym 3 or 4 times a week at work, and I was at work and I realized I was just having a really hard time with motivation, and really like having to get myself to do things. And so like I would come home and I would still bang out 3 or 4 hours worth of work, take a little break, 3 or 4 hours worth of work, take a little break. But I would go to work and just be so wiped out from working at home that I felt like I should just rest. And yeah, Mindy says it's a good excuse for selective listening. Well, actually, my wife has said she's noticed that I've like started to forget some things sometimes. So it's possible it is a lack of blood flow. So hey, Sean, good to see you, my friend. He says hi. Can't talk, but we'll be listening. I'm glad you're here, my friend. I hope you listen earlier because I think there's a lot of points you'd agree with. But even if you don't agree, I'd like to know why. So it actually, I guess I am developing symptoms. It's not just the fact that I'm going to be 40 next month. It is the fact that I actually have a perfusion issue. So, oh, cool, man. Well, we covered the week, what's happened thus far, and the Dobbs ruling, and what I think about it. So, for what it's worth, that's what I think about it. And I've actually noticed that. So I'm fairly quick-witted. When I have conversations with people, I tend to crack jokes and have fun. And I've noticed that I'm like reaching for words that used to be like, So, anyways, it's just interesting to kind of feel it all happening. And hopefully, prayerfully, when they get it all sorted out, that will be not a thing anymore. It'll go away. I'll be better. So, oh, I did forget. No, my wife, she hates this little thing, my little D'Artagnan. She's like, why didn't you shave? And I said, well, because I didn't want to. And she said, you don't have a face for that. You just need to. So actually, after we get done this evening, I will go shave. But every now and then, I let it grow for 3 or 4 days just to get her wrinkles up. They always say happy wife, happy life, but I like to say slightly irritated wife is amusing life. Mindy says that sucks. I had a reaction to a medication that caused problems like that. Yeah, it just feels like I'm missing a step, just a little bit. So, but I have now allowed myself, which is a funny thing to say, to take naps when I think I need them. I wish you had a wife too, Chris. Steve says I thought it was chocolate milk. No, it's my tea, man. Whereas before, like I would try and push through. So like I would come inside after working outside for 3 or 4 hours, and I would be like just exhausted. So I'd take a drink, I'd sit for a minute, and then I'd try and go back out and do things. Well, now when I feel like I need a nap, I just go take one, even if it's for 20 minutes. And actually that has helped. I do feel better doing that. Even this evening when our company left, it was like 5 o'clock, and I just went and laid down for about 20 minutes, and I just took a quick power nap. Because I really wanted to talk to you guys tonight, and I was really tired and wasn't sure I was going to be up for it. So, but made it. Nap was good. Dinner was delicious. Did some things. Walked around. Fixed a chicken waterer. Kind of puttered in the evening. It's really a bummer because evenings right now are gorgeous and it's bright out until like 9 o'clock, and I feel like there's so much I could be doing out there, but it's just really hard to get out there and do it. So, but again, this all should be fixed fairly soon. I'm assuming if they decide that I need surgery, which they have basically said as much, it should be in the next couple months. I know in part because of my age and because of my profession, they're trying to bump me forward, and get me like in the head of the line and stuff. Mindy says you might get hamburger helper for dinner. I used to do that to my husband when he made me mad. Yeah, Steel Ross says afternoon naps are good, especially when it's so hot. That's true. Yeah, pushing through isn't the best of ideas. So, yep, it's an interesting place to be. But like I said, my department has been great. They've offered help in taking care of animals. They've offered shift trades, so I have enough time off. I have a great support system. So, and I have you guys, and I have all of your prayers for me, and I've noticed your prayers. They have bolstered us spiritually, which is a hard to quantify thing, but I can look at what's not going on and know that your guys' prayers are working. So, Jeremy asks, what is the recovery time frame? It depends. Um, so from what I understand, there's the possibility of an arthroscopic like clip surgery, and that recovery time is like a couple weeks. Yeah, Carolyn says you're blessed in your career. You got that right. I am very blessed in that sense. It's a couple weeks, I believe, to let things kind of seal up and heal. If they have to do open heart surgery and like valve replacement and it's not arthroscopic, it could be like the minimum is 3 months with like, you can't drive a car for 10 days because the airbag will kill you and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, I'm really hoping that the time frame falls into things where things aren't quite so busy on the homestead. But I did tell my wife the vast majority of things we have going on here, we can stop. I don't have to have chickens. I don't have to have pigs. I don't have to have cows. So if the recovery thing becomes a part, oh hey, RN says sorry we lost cable, so we got bumped off the channel. First rain in 2 weeks. First rain? Is that why you got bumped off the channel? Sorry, I'm not sure I understand, but we're doing this because we love it. We have the animals because we love it. We love making our own food. We love growing our own gardens and all that stuff. And it is food insurance. We've talked about that. I like to know that I have meat out in the field that I can harvest regardless of what's going on in the grocery store. And I have various levels of chickens at various stages of development, and all that makes me feel very good and secure. But it's not necessary. So if my recovery doesn't go well, if it feels like it's going to be too long, if we might need to back up and kind of restart our priorities, then we can stop doing everything we're doing. So, and I can go buy, a year's worth of Patriot food supply and stick it in the closet. So if everything does actually collapse and the world ends and they succeed in starving half the population, like they say, we will still have some food. Beltloop says, love the chicken CPR. Yes, Carolyn, feeding the family is very important, but that's why I was talking about just having, I could put freeze-dried food in the fridge or in the closet. You can get a year's worth of food, and it wouldn't be fun. It's not nearly as enjoyable, as healthy, or as satisfying as making your own, but it would be something in the closet until recovery was over. I honestly am concerned about food shortages for the vast majority of the third world. I'm afraid that a lot of people are going to end up starving to death here soon. I remember in late 80s, I think it was late 80s and early 90s, all of the videos and news out of Ethiopia where, thousands of people were literally starving to death over there, and the warlords and things like that. I don't think that holds a candle to what could be coming. I don't think we're necessarily going to have a lack of food in America. The options might be gone, and it might be really expensive, but I don't think it's going to be like bare shelves completely. I think there will always be something to eat here because we're rich and we'll pay for it compared to the rest of the world. I know many of us are not rich. I would like to run something by you guys and tell me what you think. I am thinking about making one of our regularly edited videos about what mentality. Yeah, yeah. Carolyn says I saw the Sri Lankas in a bad way. It is terrible over there. Their whole structure's collapsing. There's a lack of food. They're rioting, but we don't hear about that. What do we hear about? We're sending $80 billion to Ukraine to tick off Russia. I tell you, the priorities are messed up. But let me run this by you, this premise, and tell me if you think it's worth pursuing. We need to have a depression era mindset, in my opinion. And I'm reading this book called The Worst Hard Times, and it's about the Dust Bowl. And oh, cool. Molly says, let me real quick. I have neighbors that are growing wheat and one that has milk cows. I've purchased supplies to make cheese and can grind the wheat myself. That's fantastic, Mindy. I have neighbors that the they are doing dairy again soon, so I'm hoping that they will take care of that. It's really nice to have people who do those parts of things for you. So if you can like swap, if you like, I love doing pigs. I think pigs are great. So if I can swap pig for milk and pig for wheat and those kind of things, I'd be happy to do it. I'd be happy to grow 10, 15 hogs and just parcel them out during the year to trade for things. But let me run this by you. I'm gonna ignore the comments for a minute so I can get my thoughts together, and then I'll go back and read them, and we'll wrap up here this evening. But the Depression era mindset. So there's this book called The Worst Hard Times, and it's talking about the lead up to the Great Dust Bowl, what actually happened during the Great Dust Bowl, which was during the Great Depression. It was at the same time. And there were farmers and families who were literally living off of whatever little meager gardens they could do. Because remember that it was basically a desert. That place got like 5 inches of water in the entire year. Okay, so it was a perfect storm of conditions. They were salting tumbleweeds and actually like brining them in vinegar to make them palatable. So they were living off of tumbleweeds, which is the same thing they were trying to feed their animals. Okay, for like months and months and months. Oh, RN says yes. Rain stayed. Lightning took out our cable, so now I'm watching on the cell phone. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope your internet comes back soon. But I do appreciate you being here. So they ate this stuff for well over a year. Many families, and I have been at work, and I am fortunate at my career that other people typically cook because I am not a great cook. But I have heard people say, now my work schedule is we work one 24-hour day, then we go home for 24 hours. We work for 24 hours, we're off for 24 hours, we work for 24 hours. So unless you work an overtime day, you're never there back to back. And I've had somebody say, what should we have for dinner? And I said, I don't know, well, let's have spaghetti. Well, I don't want spaghetti. We had that yesterday. Well, it wasn't really yesterday. It was 48 hours ago, and you don't want to eat the same thing for 2 nights in a row. I think it's egregious that we are in the place that we are in. Okay, I think it's darn near criminal that our government has ruined the fuel supply. They have ruined the. Oh, thank you, RN. She says we love your channel and your attitude. Well, good. For once, I have a good attitude. They've ruined our ability to produce our own food. They've ruined the ability to produce our own fuel. They are egregious regulations and everything else that is constricting us, and we shouldn't be in this position, okay? But we are. So we can be mad about it, we can vote about it, we can do all those things. But the point is, we're here now. I don't run the Fed. Do you run the Fed? Like we can't change these policies, and we can try and elect new people, but whatever. They're going to spend like they always have, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. It always does. It always gets better. So we have to survive to get to the better, okay? We have to make it through this tunnel. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know how long, if far away it is. I don't know how many of us are going to live to see it, but it's there, okay? So don't look at the walls and don't freak out. But how do we make it through the tunnel with some sort of steam still going forward, right? How do we preserve, if possible, our wealth when they are destroying the housing market? They're destroying the stock market. They're suppressing the price of gold. Bitcoin is crashing. There's literally nowhere you can put your money that's safe, right? So the mindset needs to be like the Depression era people. Okay, chicken dinner was like a Sunday meal. That was a big deal. That was your bringing home the bacon. That was a thing. If you had guests coming over, you brought home bacon, right? That was not an everyday meal. That wasn't just breakfast. That was, and I know most of you, if not all of you, aren't doing the whole stupid, like, make your coffee at home. Uh, uh, we've been doing that for decades. Okay, you can't buy a house because you didn't make you went to Starbucks. I'm not talking about those kind of changes. I'm talking about fundamentally changing our entire outlook on how we do things, and looking at the way you eat. Okay, we are fundamentally changing the way we eat, and it's not because we're harvesting a bunch of our own food. That's part of it. But even before that, we started adding beans back into meals in large quantities. We have started cutting meat back to be, before it was meat with almost every meal, and then it was okay. Well, now we're gonna make meat like a smaller portion of the meal, and now it's some meals we don't have meat, some meals we just don't. So, how much money could you save right now if you ate, for example, it's just an example, store brand oatmeal, right? Every day. Yeah, Kathy Dix is eating and seasoning is going to be crucial. That's right. If you ate, great value oatmeal every day for breakfast or made your own bread, whatever, some sort of bean and rice for lunch, and then something similar to beans and rice, maybe with some homemade bread yourself for dinner, and you did that 6 days a week. Like, how much money would you save if you literally ate that way 6 days a week? It's not fun. It's not pretty. Food is enjoyable, right? Please don't misunderstand. Looking forward to like that 9:30 snack at night. That's one of my favorite parts of the day. When the day is over and the kids are in bed and the chores are all done, and you just get yourself a little bowl of treat, right? Whatever the treat is. There have been different times where it's different things. Currently, it's a bowl of cereal. I like a bowl of like that yogurty vanilla crunch type cereal. Um, Sometimes it's a bowl of ice cream. I love ice cream. Sometimes it's popcorn. I go through phases, right? But that like sometimes you buy like a bar of chocolate at the store and you're waiting till that like 9:30 time. You're like, oh man, at 9:30 I'm gonna have a piece of chocolate and a glass of milk and it's gonna be wonderful. I love that. It's something to look forward to. But if we want to survive this time, we might need to change now. We might need to change now. The wave is coming, okay? And the time to start paddling for the wave, that's not screaming. Those are my tree frogs, Chris. I'll move it a little closer so that way it's not so loud. The time to start paddling is before the wave hits. It's before the wave hits, okay? So start paddling now. Start making fundamental changes now. Change the way you eat. Because there are hundreds of dollars we could save a month if we ate bland, boring food that gives you the nutrition that you need and the energy to survive. There is. It takes a lot of fun out of life. It really, really does. But if you can maintain, right? If you can invest in yourself, if you can take that extra, I don't know how many people in your family, so I'm just throwing numbers out. If you can save $200 a month on your grocery bill by doing this, if not more, I think it could be more, but let's just say $200, and you could reinvest that into your garden, into the plants that will grow you delicious food, into fruit trees, right? Nut trees, whatever grows in your area. Okay, I am a terrible gardener. So those of you that come from my brother's channel, that apple fell real far from the tree. Okay, my wife is the gardener. She is a brilliant gardener. She knows all the stuff we're growing and why we grow it and what zone it is and all this stuff. I don't know any of that stuff. Do you want a big pile of mulch here? She says yes. I put a big pile of mulch. That's my job. You want a fence? I put a fence. You want a hole? I dig a hole. You want it tilled? I till. We don't know. If you want the ground to not be disturbed in any way, shape, or form, so that all of the things live that are inside the soil, we do that. But you can put it back. So we are currently now, like Kathy said, trying to eat in season. So we go to our garden today, right? Dirty tiller. Mindy says the Hershey bar's gone way up. Yeah, exactly. It's egregious. It is just, it's unnecessary and it's evil. But we can only do what we can do on our part, right? So, yes, yeah. Carolyn says food at home doesn't have to be boring. There are plenty of herbs and spices that you can do to make your beans delicious. It is, but beans are not nearly as delicious as home raised pork. It's not nearly delicious as. Anyways, Kathy says watching your brother today, waiting for you to break out the guitar. I'm the drummer. That doesn't really work well with a live stream. I did think about getting a box drum out or something, and but that doesn't make any sense. So we are currently now pulling out a boatload of zucchini, because I can say it. It's my channel. I don't care what he says. Um, a boatload of zucchini and cucumbers out of the garden. So what we're doing actually is with breakfast, because I have eggs for my chickens. I will eat eggs and I will cut up a fresh cucumber, and that's like my delicious treat is a fresh cucumber right out of the garden. But when we have 5 or 6 or 7 of them, then we can them that day. So we are right now canning stuff that we're pulling out of the garden at the same time. We're not doing like one big canning day or freezing stuff until it's time. We are doing it as we go, and we are starting to build up our pantry. So that way, when fall and winter come, I have delicious things that I can still eat, so I'm not stuck eating beans and rice. But if you can save some money to reinvest it into your property, now maybe you live in suburbia and you can't grow these giant things of food. Well, then get pots and grow the things in the pots, grow them in raised beds, and can them and save them. So, um, yeah, chocolate's really expensive, she says. Carolyn says, I bring my husband his chocolate when I visit, but chocolate's getting really expensive, but he's worth it. Treats are worth it, right? There's moderation. Integrity says, I found something out recently. Let me read it this way. Zucchini can be dried, powdered, and alternative for flour. It makes zucchini suddenly worth growing for more than like 5 a season that my family eats. Cool. How do you dry it? Do you know? If you have a video on it, send me a link. I would love to see that. My wife is currently making zucchini bread with it, but not dried out. She's putting it in the blender and doing that whole thing. I don't like the way zucchini tastes, but zucchini bread, you can't tell. It tastes like pumpkin bread. It's delicious. So we need to change the way that we think. We need to change the way that we're doing things. Dehydrated doesn't have to be freeze dried. Ooh, I think I could dehydrate it in my oven, like 150 degrees for a while. And any resources that you're able to reinvest into yourself, I mean, we have a boatload of apples coming in the next couple months, and we are going to eat like kings with apples. We're going to make apple butter. We're going to make apple sauce. We're going to freeze it. We're going to can it. We're going to do all kinds of things. And apples make almost everything taste better. So, anyways, that's the idea I have for a video. Not really much in the way of like fancy editing or anything, but just kind of a message to people to encourage them to rethink, because there's only so many places we can cut, right? If you have to drive to work, you have to pay for your gas. We have to pay for our electricity. We have to eat, for Pete's sake. So how do we get through that mindset? So if you guys think that's something worth throwing out there, then I will film something along those lines and get it out. I'll try and think of a way to make it fun, so it's not just a monologue of me walking around all intensely being like, just eat beans. You don't have to do it. Just eat the beans. But anyways, let's end on some encouragement, because I know we've been talking a little dire, but it seems like our country is swinging back toward freedom of choice into the stuffed rabbits on your property in the video. Let me tell you how we're going to survive this depression. We're going to do what they did back in the old days. We're going to eat varmints, you understand? Varmint, we're going to make a stew. But it looks like freedom is coming back into favor in our country, and that we have judges who see the Constitution as an originalist document. Again, there are ways to change the Constitution. Let me quickly say that the Constitution is not gospel. So let's not get those mixed up as Christians, okay? Our faith is not in the Constitution. Our faith is not in judges. Our faith is in Jesus Christ alone and the Word of God. So we are going to put our faith and trust in the Lord. But when humans make the right decision, we rejoice and we thank God for it. But the battle is not over. The sanctity of life is still in jeopardy. So let's continue to pray for people in leadership. Let's pray for our government, that this culture of death will end, and that people will repent of their sins and return to Christ. There is forgiveness. People have had abortions and gotten saved. There are people who have murdered people and gotten saved. There are people who have been in all kinds of terrible, terrible, evil wickedness, such as were some of us, right? That's what it says in the New Testament. There's all kinds of evil going on, and such were some of you. Some of you means some of me as well, okay? I'm just quoting the scripture. It says, such were some of you, in all kinds of depravity, wickedness, and evil, despicable things. And Christ called us through the Holy Spirit. We confessed with our mouth and believed in our heart that he is the Son of God. We are cloaked in his righteousness, and we are declared not guilty before God the Father, okay? People that have had abortions who are not Christians need our prayers. They need our support. They are lost in their sins. Sinners can only sin. It's the only thing they can do. There is nothing else they can do but sin. Doesn't mean there aren't consequences for actions, but it doesn't mean that they are irredeemable, okay? Christ is the one that does that work. So let's be faithful with the message that he has given us. Let's pray for the lost. Let's pray for the broken. And let's pray for the unborn in this country who might have the opportunity to get saved. Thank you, Carolyn. So that's what we're going to do. Those are, I don't know if marching orders are the right term, but don't despair. Be encouraged. As I think it was Glenn Beck said, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. While on one hand, it seems like everything is burning down around our ears, there are ribbons and slivers of hope. So the darkness is not too dark for him. So RN says, let me get to a few comments and then we'll go. Check out Azura Standard for grocery and supply halls. It's a Christian business. They have Mylar bags, foods, grains, food oils, and they save you a lot of money. I'm screenshotting that right now. Boop. I think my wife might know who those are, but anyways. Thank you for joining me this evening. It's always encouraging to me to have a chance to sit and talk with you guys and interact and have the wonderful fellowship. You guys really encourage me. I don't know if you know that or not, but you spending your evening with me, your comments on all the videos that we put out, the thumbs up, the likes, all that stuff. It is very, very encouraging, and it helps us press forward. So thank you for being here. You guys mean the world to me. I love you very much. Have a great week. We'll see you soon. Bye. Oh, grow as you grow. I keep forgetting to say that in the end of the videos now. Grow as you grow. Bye.